Welcome to Brandstorm, the podcast that talks to the people behind America's brands. I'm Dan Trzynski, president of Platypus Advertising and Design.
And I'm Nancy Christopher, PR director at Platypus. Our guest today says if you aren't using testimonials, you're missing out on a simple but great tool for new business. Michael Gass is the founder of Fuel Lines Business Development, a firm which provides business development resources, training, and consulting services to businesses like Platypus. According to Ad Age's Power 150, Michael's blog Fuel Lines has been rated among the top 100 marketing blogs in the world, and he is considered one of our country's foremost authorities on social media. Welcome to Brandstorm, Michael.
Good to be with you.
Can you live up to all that billing?
Well, we'll see, right?
I'll do my best.
So I'm in your camp, Michael. I think testimonials are great, but so many businesses, including us, we don't use them. Why do you think that is?
I think some of it's procrastination. We never do what we recommend clients do. I think that's part of it. I think it's also a little awkward when you're requesting a testimonial.
Yes.
So I think that's another reason why we tend to put it off.
So what do you say to those companies about the importance of testimonials?
Well, testimonials are as good as a referral, and most small to mid-sized businesses, they're very dependent on referral business. And when you look at some of the studies that have been done, to have that kind of weight, it's just a missed opportunity. I work a lot with advertising, media, digital, PR firms, and find often that they are missing the boat when it comes to testimonials, particularly on their website. And that's one of the main things that a prospective client's looking for. They want to find that credibility, and those testimonials kind of help validate your expertise within particular niches and to a particular audience.
So when a prospective client is looking for an ad agency like ourselves, and they come to our website, you think they typically are looking for the testimonials? Are they looking at our work? What's motivating them?
Work's always important, but a website is your online brochure. And to me, it's the place for your capabilities, credentials, all of those things that kind of help validate you and add credibility to your services. And it's certainly one of the things that they're looking for.
How do you go about asking a client? Sometimes you feel, embarrassed or, like you're asking for them for a testimonial. Do you do that? Is there a timing mechanism that you think is good or a way of asking for it?
I think timing's important. And, as you've had success with that client, it's a prime opportunity to make the request. I found the easiest way is to ask for a recommendation via LinkedIn. And LinkedIn makes it very, very easy to do. It also provides a helpful reminder in the future if they haven't responded in a particular period of time.
So is it typically best to go to someone right after you've finished a project for them?
Yeah, I would tend to wait for some results and some positives. That, to me, is a prime opportunity.
So having talked about the timing, what about the anatomy of a testimonial? What information should be in one, and how do you kind of approach somebody to make sure they have that type of information in there?
The testimonials need to include the person's name and their title and the company that they're associated with. And you want to make it easy on your client's responses so that they're not having to spend a great amount of time thinking through that. And so if you can kind of provide them some kind of a suggested format and maybe some highlights and give them some direction, I find that it's always welcome.
I've gotten queasy about that in the past, where I've asked for, we're putting together an RFP or something like that, and reached out to a client and said, hey, we're looking for a reference. We have to provide X amount of references in this RFP, and you're in the same industry. They say, just write something down for me and put my name to it. I never felt comfortable with that. Is there a way of, making them do a little more work? Because the ones that we've gotten that were genuine, where they just wrote it, seem a lot better than anything I would write about myself.
Ask them for just a couple of sentences that would make it a little more personal. And then, do the edit and take what you would have suggested and incorporate that into it. And that's the way I would do it. And then, ask for their okay once it's done.
Once it's done.
How do you feel about celebrity endorsements?
I think it's fine. If you have those kind of connections, I think you ought to utilize them. I was working with an agency outside of Chicago, and celebrity marketing is their niche, especially if there's some relevancy with that connection. But, especially for calls marketing and like Burns Advertising, this agency that does celebrity marketing, they have an extensive list of even celebrities with various ailments. And so if a particular product matches up with, an illness that they might have gone through or they've used the product and those kind of things, just kind of vet it and make sure that there's some validity to that.
So once you have that testimonial, what's the best way or some of the best ways to use it to market your business?
Well, I would certainly have it on the website. There would be a way for them to endorse it through, again, something like LinkedIn, so it shows up on your profile page. And then I would also include it in, some of the things that you're doing in social media. Like I've got a Twitter schedule, like you would have a media schedule for print or what have you, so that I make sure that I've got a mixture of things, including testimonials in like my Twitter feed or update status in Facebook or LinkedIn. I don't overdo that, but I make sure that, a lot of those are incorporated in the kind of communications that I'm sharing.
What do you think of including, besides just a written word, pictures or even a video of the person doing it if they're willing to sit still long enough to do that?
Well, we all know that video is extremely hot right now and should be well utilized, and especially in the social media realm. We also know that graphics and photos also enhance any kind of communication that's going out, and certainly it should be a part of this.
Should testimonials link back to the person who wrote the endorsement?
I think it's helpful because it's almost like a reference. And like when I send out a proposal, I try to make it as easy on the prospective client as possible so that before they've even asked for those references, I provide them and provide all of their contact info. And so if you're providing those kind of links, it allows them to have direct connection to the referrer. And I think that's always helpful. And, a lot of times those links are reciprocated. That helps to build backlinks back to your site from an SEO perspective.
So, in addition for asking for a testimonial, we should probably ask, do you mind if we link back to you? Because some people might say, hey, I don't want somebody I don't know getting in touch with me.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. And certainly, there's other ways than just providing a phone number and an email address. They can message them through LinkedIn or they could send a tweet, a number of ways that they could communicate that might even be preferable from the referrer's perspective as far as the way they make contact with them.
So, do you consult with other businesses besides people in our business in the agency land when it comes to either digital social media or helping them with references or content like that?
I usually don't. I try to stay very focused on my target, but I'm working with my clients to help them focus on their target group. So,
Okay.
I gain a lot of experience and really have a feel and understanding for the type clients they're trying to reach and how best to reach them. But, most head agencies, PR firms, digital agencies, what have you, they're all in the same boat. Many refuse to identify who their target is, and most don't really have a strong point of differentiation. So it makes it very problematic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're our worst clients.
Exactly. I listen to your voice and I can see that you're probably an older gentleman, not in your 20s and 30s.
Wow.
I know. And I'm sorry, Michael, to even ask this. But, when I introduced you, it was mentioned that you were one of the foremost authorities on social media. How did you get to that point? Because most people, as you get older, I don't want to have anything to do with this stuff.
Oh yeah, and I've been there and done that. But this is my 11th year consulting. My timing was absolutely perfect. I started my consultancy like within 2 months of the greatest economic downturn since the Great Depression.
Yes.
Uh, I had 3 kids in college at the time. My wife comes from a very stable family. I mean, her mother worked for state government, her father worked for the city of Birmingham. Very, stable careers. And then my wife's been with the same law firm for like 30 years. So, it was really freaking my wife out for me to step out. So it was like sink or swim. And we weren't even calling social media consistently back then. It was
Right.
like Web 2.0 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, remember
Right.
Web 2.0,
Yeah.
right?
But I just had an intuition that, when I was a cold caller from way back, I'd do 45, 75 cold calls a day, being on staff at ad agencies in the Southeast. And then when I started my own consultancy, I identified clearly who my target was, started building an online community around that target, and then started creating content of value, not just repeating my credentials, capabilities, and case studies, but just from sharing that kind of content, I was positioned as a thought leader. My fourth client, and I'm in a suburb of Birmingham, Alabama, which is called Alabaster. And I could only imagine Alabaster, Alabama on a business card. But as I started this, my fourth client was on the West Coast in Costa Mesa, California. And I'm sitting in their office in February, and beautiful weather, flowers blooming, grass is green. I'm thinking I'm a long way from Alabaster. So I was all in. There was no mentors for me back during that time, and the geeks that started social media, they had no intention for it to become a mainline communication channel, and they really were resistive of it. But I tested everything. And so started growing my audience and got up to between two Twitter accounts, over 100,000 followers, had over 40,000 subscribers to my newsletter,
Wow.
and a tremendous amount of traffic to my niche blog. And then I started replicating that, helping agencies, because most agencies were behind the curve and very resistive of social media. They got into it about 2010, but when they jumped in, they literally jumped in. They did off or online what they were doing offline. No target, no clear direction of building an online community. And in their Twitter feeds or LinkedIn updates and things like that, it was all about the agency and nothing of value for the prospect.
Right.
And so I've had to help agencies really relearn business development because it's such a paradigm shift. Instead of chasing new business, it's all about being found.
Right.
I had an agency owner call me from New York, and he talked to me like he knew me, asked about the Yorkies, asked about our kids by name, and we had never talked. So that conversation is so far down the road. And basically, all he wanted to know was, how much does this cost our engagement with you, and when can we get started?
Wow.
And that's been the
Yeah, they felt really comfortable.
He was already sold, right?
Yeah.
already sold. I'm never in a position to where I have to sell. And in 11 years, even being a cold caller from way back, in 11 years, being a consultant, I have never made a cold call for any new business. The way it works for me is the way it works for my clients, and I help them to create like a niche blog offsite. Most of these agencies, they're in a perpetual state of rebranding and redesigning their websites. So it's never an opportune time. So we would create a niche blog, but social media is all about people connecting with people. It gets awkward when we're trying to connect people with brand. And even large companies like Apple, I mean, there's a face of that company, Virgin, Sir Richard Branson,
Right.
the agency founder, Steve Jobs. What happens when the founder dies? Well, you pass the baton. Tim
Right.
Cook,
Right.
an excellent person to, identify with for that brand. And for small to mid-sized agencies, it's critical for prospects to have a direct connection with the agency brand owner. And they could resolve their perpetual state of rebranding if you would look at the personal brand of the founder or the owners, because usually the agency brand is an extension of that. It's their values, their hires, their culture that they're developing. All of those things exist within that agency brand. And so, utilizing your personal brand is just a great way to utilize social media. So when I help them in business development, we're not leading with the agency. We're not hiding that fact, but we're not leading with it because the true engagement comes through individuals.
All right. So, any final thoughts for us?
Well, just, I think everybody understands now the battleground for new business is online. And again, instead of chasing new business, it's about being found. So, you know, those testimonials are something that those prospective clients are going to really research and look for in advance of engaging with you. And so, certainly make that a priority because I talk to most agencies, they're so dependent on referral business, and yet they're missing the biggest opportunity when a testimonial carries the same weight as a referral.
No question.
Excellent.
I know there's other agencies out there that listen to this podcast because I've talked to several of them. How would someone connect with you, Michael, if they would like your help?
My niche blog is fuelingnewbusiness.com, and all the ways to connect with me are found there. It's kind of my home base, or they can reach me, if they could just remember michaelgas.com. It'll also take them to the site.
And that's gas with 2 S's, right?
2 S's. Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, thanks for being our guest today, Michael. It was very interesting.
Thank you very much. Good to talk to you both.
Thank you. And if you have any questions for Dan or me about today's episode, feel free to contact us on our LinkedIn pages. We appreciate your support, so write us a testimonial, okay? Seriously, if you like what you've heard today, please don't forget to share, review, and subscribe to Brandstorm.
This is Dan Trzynski along with Nancy Christopher at Platypus Advertising and Design, an awesome company that creates perceptions that influence choice. We hope you'll join us next week for another episode of Brandstorm.